Okay, so we are about to start. Welcome everyone once again. It's my pleasure to have all of us here. Welcome to the African Chamber of Digital Commerce Roundtable powered by Decentralized Media. So at this roundtable, we create a transformative experience where industry leaders, policymakers, and visionaries converge to shape the future of commerce and innovation in Africa. With this signature event, which we created to be unique, we bring together stakeholders from various sectors to drive collaboration, explore new opportunities, and influence policies that will define the continent's digital landscape. So we welcome you to be a part of this conversation that drives progress, fosters innovation, and propels Africa towards a brighter future. So I'll quickly run through the introduction of our guests. We have two eminent guests who are joining us today. We have Elizabeth Blacklin, who is a seasoned professional with a wealth of experience in the realm of information and communication. As a senior advisor at Prosper Africa with a passion for international development and business. Elizabeth excels in bridging the gap between these two dynamic fields. Her expertise lies in the intersection where young entrepreneurs and nonprofit organizations seek guidance and insights within the marketplace for their groundbreaking ideas and innovations. Simultaneously, she facilitates companies in gaining invaluable access to this thriving ecosystem. Elizabeth's career thrives on her exceptional ability to evaluate corporate interests and seemingly align them with innovative-driven programs, resources, accelerators, and incubators across the global landscape. Her role as a senior advisor entails matchmaking companies with initiatives that foster innovation, thus facilitating the exchanges of ideas and expertise within diverse entities. Elizabeth dedicates her time to nurturing entrepreneurs, fostering collaboration, and driving towards the evolution of information and communication technologies, underscoring her impactful contribution to the world of international business and development. So welcome, Elizabeth. We are glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa, and thank you to the African Chamber of Digital Commerce for this opportunity. I look forward to speaking with all of you in more detail. I didn't know if you wanted me to go over things, or should we switch to Engineer Aziz?
Yes, I'll get back to you in a very short while. So I'll just move directly to Engineer Aziz, who is currently the Director General and CEO of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC in short, here in Nigeria. He is a chartered engineer with over 30 years of experience in information technology management and administration. Aziz was born in Gembu, Taraba State, Nigeria on May 17, 1962. He graduated from the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria with a Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering and a Master's of Science in Structural Engineering with a specialty in computer-aided designs. After graduation, Aziz worked as a graduate assistant in the civil engineering department of the university. Then he went on to work as a principal partner of the Integrated Engineering Association, where he designed and supervised several prominent buildings and bridges in Kaduna and Abuja environs. In 2006, he joined the NIMC as a Director of Information Technology, National Identity Database Department. He played a key role in the development and implementation of the NIMC National Identity Database. In 2014, he was appointed as the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NIMC. Under Aziz's leadership, the NIMC has made very giant strides in the implementation of the National Identity Database. The databases have now been deployed in the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Over 70 million Nigerians have been enrolled in the database, and the number is still growing. Aziz is a member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, the Computer Association of Nigeria, the Internet Society, and the Nigerian Institute of Structural Engineers. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineers. Aziz is a recipient of several awards, including the NIMC Merit Award, the NSC Merit Award, and the COAN Merit Award. He is also a recipient of the Harvard Business School Africa Business Leaders Program Fellowship. Aziz is passionate about the use of technology to improve the lives of Nigerians. He's committed to ensuring that NIMC's National Identity Database is used to provide Nigerians with access to a wide range of government services and benefits. Hello, Engineer Aziz. We are glad to have you here.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. I would like to report that the progress so far right now that we have enrolled more than 100 million. We celebrated last May, so we have 102 actually million Nigerians that are enrolled. And within that 100 million, and 90% are the adults, that is 15 years and above. But only 10% of the children that have been captured. So, you know, the idea of identity, usually they focus on the adults. Like when we started, it was about card and national ID card, and it was focused for years for children, for people that are 16 years and above. But the 21st century came in and we found out that no, it has to, the database have to be inclusive. It should be from birth. Just like in the US, you issue the social security number at birth. So that is what we are doing. But unfortunately, only few people at that age. And I checked some data with the primary school board, and I found out that there are about 48 million children that are in primary school and junior secondary school. So that huge number, we then have to focus on capturing those ones. But the mainstream people, adult people, 90% of them have been captured. So what remains now is to go to the hard to reach areas, and then those that are vulnerable, because when you want to give assistance, it's the vulnerable people that really requires those assistance. So that is the progress so far that we have done, and we've been working with World Bank and other development partners to help, but there was a constraint, which I'm happy to say that we have now come out of that constraint. The constraint was that we need to come up with a data protection law because of privacy and data protection, which is very much now. So with the coming of our current president, Bola Tinubu, he has signed that law in place. Therefore, it has given us way to now commence the activity of enrolling the poor people, the vulnerable people, and also to commence that enrollment from birth. And also we will be able to go to schools also to enroll the children, and including out of school children. I understand someone gave me this data. I don't know whether it's correct, but he says there are about 24 million out of school children in Africa. But guess what? About 18 million of those children are in Nigeria, because we are, as you know, the most populous country. Therefore, we look at all these as opportunities, because with technology, and we were able to innovate and have like using the USSD code, one can check the NIN. We also come up with a mobile app that using a smartphone, then you can check your data and do interaction using that mobile app. But unfortunately, the mobile app only works on a smartphone. And as you know, in the digital economy, it is said that you need 4 things for the digital economy to thrive. First of all, you need the smartphone. Secondly, you need a wallet, because you need to get an alert when you communicate with government, and you need assistance, so you need a wallet. Thirdly, we need the broadband. And fortunately, now with the satellite technology, you can cover the whole of Africa. The whole of Nigeria is already covered. And finally, then you need this ID, digital identity, to identify the person. And also,
Okay.
we have gotten experience from what India also have done with the Aadhaar number. So before we were focusing on ID card, but we found out that now it is the digital identity to identify
Okay.
the person. We
That
have
matters.
also come up with many different channels of enrolling, like we have the portable, using the Android operating system to have portable systems to go and capture.
Okay.
We also introduce tokenization, so that to provide privacy. So you don't need to give your open NIN to people, rather you tokenize that value. And
Okay.
then we also came up with a contactless enrollment solution, whereby after the COVID, then there is that issue of the need to have non-intrusive methods of capturing
Okay.
people. Though the
Okay.
camera is non-intrusive, but for the fingerprint, it used to be intrusive. So now
Very
with
true.
the contactless enrollment system, we are geared to then go to all the nooks and crannies to really capture those vulnerable people that
People.
really requires help. And
Yeah.
we understand that for us to move into this digital system too, our systems have to be robust. They have to be
Yes.
protected. So we
Okay.
take cybersecurity
Very important.
serious, and we
Okay.
also know that the database
Okay.
itself have to be
Safeguarded.
protected and
Yes. Okay.
safeguarded.
Yes,
Yes.
I think I'd come back to that. We'll come back to the
Okay.
nitty-gritty of that implementation. And I'm really impressed with what you've done so far. I mean, 100 million, that's about half of Nigerians already duly captured. And that's something really
Yes. Thank
commendable. And
you.
I'm also extremely impressed with the data segregation, how you're able to put some really good statistics to each of these important data units. That's really shows that there have been a lot of innovation going into the process of managing the data of Nigerians. So we'll come back to the details of how exactly these implementations are being managed and where we are now and what we look to achieve in the nearest future. So just a little brief about myself. My name is Mona Lisa. I am an AFOC, African Chamber of Digital Commerce admin. But of course, I also work as a director of global marketing at Zenith Chain, which is a blockchain ecosystem where I see to the creation of blockchain solutions in emerging markets, of course, which Africa happens to be one of the strongest fronts in emerging markets. We have some presence in the Latin American region, the Asia Pacific, and we also have a strong presence in Nigeria and several African countries. So just to delve into the depths of the conversation, I think I'd just have to give like maybe 2 minutes to Elizabeth to give us a brief into what exactly the project at Prosper Africa is all about.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I'd love to congratulate Engineer Aziz. I think you have done an
Thank you.
amazing job so far, starting with the passage of the data protection bill. I believe that was in June of this year. So that was also, I'm sure, a wonderful thing that you were able to do. And I love to hear, as Mona Lisa said, that you already have over 100 million people registered. That's amazing. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So just as a little background, I actually started with Prosper Africa right after the African Leaders Summit, for the reason that many of you probably were interested in what we all were doing as well, because I saw the outreach from the US government to the African continent in a way that I think all of us can agree is a wonderful new venture, and we hope that we can continue this, and I think we can. So I am leading as, I come from the private sector, all of my experience is from the private sector, and I believe that ongoing economic growth happens once the small companies in Nigeria can shake hands with the companies in the US and move forward together. So I'm excited about that. We were able to launch the Africa Tech for Trade initiative in April of this year. And we launched it at an Africa FinTech Summit in Washington, DC. I was telling Eric and the group from the African Chamber of Digital Commerce that last year, the overall winner of the competition for the Africa FinTech Summit was a Nigerian company. So there's
nice.
Yes, there's so much innovation coming out of Nigeria. I love to hear what all of the startups are doing. I'm speaking to Nigerian startups all the time, and I couldn't be more impressed with the solutions that I'm hearing coming out of the continent and the country. So bravo for that. We are very, yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll get back to, I think you mentioned something very important, that you were the winner of the last, I don't know how you describe this, the award at the African FinTech Summit in Washington, DC. It's Nigerian. And I happen to have quite some exposure, and I can tell you, just as you mentioned, right, like very correctly, that a lot is happening in the Nigerian ecosystem in terms of startup growth, which has been very, very spontaneous and progressive in the past 5 years. So a lot, especially in the area of fintech, of course. I'll definitely be getting back to that. I wanted to get to Engineer Aziz. You've done quite a lot in terms of capturing about 100 million. So I can imagine that there would be some experiences from that process. So what happened? What's your it been like?
Okay, thank you very much. Though I missed the last bit, maybe the network, but I got your question. Okay. Well, the experience is that we initially it used to be registration used to be a government business alone, and then we had centers in all the states and local government. But as you know, the Nigerian population is very, very large. And I understood in one of the conferences that I attended that you for every 50,000 people, you need to have an enrollment center. And enrollment have to be a continuous process, because at any time you have somebody is being born and somebody is turning 16 and someone wants to drive. Another person wants a passport to travel. Another person wants to open an account. Therefore, it has to be a continuous process. And therefore, we used to have like 1,000 centers for the government service. Then we had this work with the World Bank and the development partners. And then we agreed that we need to bring in this private sector. We need to work as an ecosystem and allow others also to capture the data. So we provide the standards, we provide the enrollment software, and then we publicize, and we were able to get more than 200 enrollment companies. that we then license them to capture the data. And then they will capture the data and then send to the back end where we have the automated biometric identification system, ABIS, that will then check the fingerprints and then the face and make sure that this person is a unique person before the NIN, the National Identification Number, is generated. And with that uniqueness, then we can then pay them for that service. And we agreed then, and I believe even now too, that $1 per enrollment is more than enough to compensate for the private sector that will buy the equipment, mobilize the people, and also go and capture, do the logistics, and send the data. So that is what we did to then to have a lot of centers. So later we were thinking for 200 million people, you need 4,000 centers. But mind you, Nigeria is so complex that right now we have more than 15,000 centers, and it is still not yet enough. And with that, and also enforcement of like having access to the SIM, the last one that we had, and then also before you get or renew a passport, or you get you do examinations, you need the NIN. So that enforcement also made people to get to register. But actually the registration is a public good and is free of charge. There's no charge that is charged. So that is what really pushed the enrollment envelope. And as we have mentioned now that our new brand minister, Dr. Bosun Tijani, who has been driving innovation, and also he made it that our ministry too is renamed. Now it has innovation as part of its own name, that is Ministry of Communications, Innovations, and Digital Economy. Therefore, I believe that the utilization of the National Identification Number will now embrace the fintech people. So since we have a young talented person to drive the whole ministry, and we believe that when whatever Nigeria does best, all other African countries too takes the lead from Nigeria.
Thank you so much. And I think I love the way that the portfolio has been modified. It shows progress. It shows a commitment to what is to come, to really getting it right in that sector. So Elizabeth, back to you. I'd like to hear your experience just in clear terms. What has it been like really driving this initiative? What are your core goals and how close are you to achieving them?
Thank you for that question. And yes, I have to reiterate and emphasize what you just said, that the fact that a tech entrepreneur is now the Minister of Innovation, Industry, and Communication in Nigeria is a wonderful thing. I congratulate you for that as well, Engineer Aziz. Yeah, we're very excited to be working with companies, African companies on the ground. I think our goal, we are a U.S. presidential initiative, so we're focused on bilateral trade, both U.S. to Africa, but Africa to the U.S. as well. So there's a lot still to do. I think we can all agree that that's not been completely accomplished. There's a lot of work still to do, but we're looking for ways that we can reach out to the startup community in each of the countries in Africa. As we said, Nigeria has a very vibrant, active, innovative tech entrepreneurial group, and we're excited to hear from them all the time. I think in terms of where we need to keep going, Mona Lisa, it's reaching out to that group of very innovative entrepreneurs that's going to create all of these innovations that all the world needs, frankly. We're looking at innovations on the renewable energy side, on the climate change side. We've seen incredibly creative solutions from the ICT side where they're using solar powered renewable energy options. I think that's where we want to keep going, seeing what's coming out from the continent and joining hands with the US technology companies as well.
Beautiful. Especially you mentioned even subsections like climate tech, which is where I think we've done quite well in the area of fintech and several other tech units, but the climate tech area is something that we still have some groundwork to do. And I'm very excited that the Prosper Africa Initiative is particularly interested in that sector because it holds a lot of possibilities for Nigeria and the African continent. So let me get back to the engineer. Hi, engineer, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So I wanted to understand really. We've spoken to how important this identity process is, that we get it right with the identities of Nigerians, because this is one of the most intricate and most difficult aspects of managing Nigeria as a complex society, one of the most complex. So, and you happen to be in that position. How do you think that this identity process can help curb insecurity, the security challenges, because it's widespread. There is no exact dimension to it. There are multiple angles to the whole security issue. So how are you looking at using your initiative and your processes to tackle this deep issues?
Well, thank you very much. And I believe that that the identity helps in knowing the people. And once you know the people, then government should be able to then provide for the people. And that provision includes the planning for the people. It also includes even the budgeting for people. And finally, it includes the security, as you have mentioned. It is very, very important that when people are traveling now, usually the security agencies do ask people to identify themselves. If they don't have identity, they always encourage them. You need to go and register, because we need to identify who you are. That we need to manage those spaces for you. We need for you to thrive with the innovative spirit that we have in Nigeria. We need to be secure. We need to already we are free people. We have taken freedom so much that even the identity, when a policeman asks someone who you are, they may likely to ask the policeman, don't you know who am I? So how can the policeman knows who you are, except you have a form of identification? And as you mentioned, there are many areas like the energy that you talked about. There is quantum computing, but our people are in that area. The wearables that we have that will play a lot of a great way in moving the technology, or in the digital twins of whatever that you are doing, or in the economy and also the military applications. There's so much generative AI, and some of them are so much that you need others to really understand this system in a way to sieve the signal from the noise, because there is so much noise in the system. There's precision medicine that have to do with mental health, that so much that has to be done. So there's so much that the identity, as you said, that will work, but you need the data. As we said, in the 21st century, data is the new oil, and it's also, in fact, is the new air that we also breathe. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I think one of the most important achievements from my own perspective, of course, which you've reiterated in your comment just now, that we need security, because of course security happens to be the bedrock of progress and economic growth. And I like that you have a keen eye as to how these data are going to not just be mined or generated, but how it can be used to solve our complex security issues from all around Nigeria. So that's really commendable. So coming right to Elizabeth, you mentioned something before. Are you particularly interested in facilitating trade within into Africa and out of Africa? So let's get to hear from you, like one of the deepest issues that African Nigerian startups and African startups kind of deal with is access to funding. We have a very robust ecosystem that is thriving, still very young, and a lot is still possible based on projection and based on what's happening on ground already. So what are you able to do for the startups that are genuine, like progressive startups that have some really strong prospects? What are you able to do for them from the Prosper Africa?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So what we're looking at, first of all, Prosper Africa is working with the 17 other US government agencies, and that can get very overwhelming if you're a startup trying to figure out where to plug in with the US government. So we understand that, and we consider ourselves to be at least a first stage to be able to help you navigate who to contact in the US government. I would also say that we are focusing on looking at how do groups within the US government, say the US Trade and Development Agency, they help with the feasibility study, so the very early stages of a project. How does that connection happen with the financing part, which you could look to the US Export-Import Bank or the Development Finance Corporation. There are a lot of these US agencies that can get very confusing, but we would like to help navigate that and help the startups figure out where to plug in, what stage they are in their development, and how to help them in the process from getting early stage funding to then follow on development finance. Does that, I'd love to talk to more startups about that.
Beautiful. I think that's amazing, really, especially in the process of funding, attracting international funding. It can really be complex and should I say overwhelming for startups, especially early stage startups that have to do with the actual business and the process of getting funded. Then I'd like to understand how what has the experience been like in facilitating this? Funding is very intricate, right? What's the success rate as to the startups that you are supporting? What's the success rate? Are there areas of challenges? Are there areas that needs improvement and all of that?
That's a very good question. So I would point you to one of the successes that we're working on right now. I recently attended an open radio access network workshop in South Africa. And one of the highlighted companies was Nigerian, Hotspot. You probably know Hotspot, Engineer Aziz. They received they received a grant from the US Trade and Development Agency, USTDA, and they have the most creative mobile tower that's functioning with a solar powered renewable energy source. This is the type of solution that we all just love. And now we're trying to help them find that follow-on funding and financing option. So they've been very successful. Yeah, we would like to take them to the next phase. And we'd like to work hand in hand with Engineer Aziz and the ministry to figure out how we do that. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really,
Yeah.
really, really nice. I'm so happy to hear that. This speaks to possibilities, right? It speaks to a lot of possibilities and what can be achieved in the near future. And really, as I mentioned before, what we are here to do at the African Chamber of Digital Commerce is to facilitate growth and to connect visionaries to the right opportunities to help them to scale their ventures and provide opportunities for both investments and for the builders themselves, the founders themselves, to harness the opportunities that are within the ecosystem. So yes, we are very much in support of that, how the NIMC and the African Prosper Initiative can come together to build out some strong fronts helping Africans get the best of opportunities from the US. So there's one very intricate question I'm about to bring to you, Dr. Engineer Aziz. So let's speak to African diaspora, right? As we know, it's common knowledge how much we have migrations happening and all of that. How are we able to manage the data of Nigerians in diaspora? Do they matter? Are they important? What's their place and what are the opportunities for them?
Yeah, well, as I earlier stated, that the program for identity is inclusive. It includes everyone, so it does not discriminate. And Nigerians in diaspora are actually our brightest, and they are the ones that move there, and they also are the ones that most of the time send in the foreign direct investment that we get. Therefore, our program includes them, and we have the NIMC licensed partners all over the world in more than 40 countries now, and in most of the major cities in Europe and America and Asia, that we have centers that if you don't have the NIN, that you can go walk in and then get the NIN. And because for you to renew your international passport, then you need this particular NIN as a requirement. Therefore, we did provide that service. And since it's internet technology, so it does not matter where one is, that once the information is gotten and the person is unique and has proof to show that is a citizen, then we capture. But within Nigeria, we also capture non-citizen also, because the whole purpose is for one to identify his own the person himself. So we very much work with Nigerian companies that are outside Nigeria, that are in diaspora, and they are scattered all over the country, everywhere, because it is very important. In future, we expect that even voting can be done online, and you need the uniqueness of the people to capture. That is why the name is so important. And we have been working towards making it easy. Right now, in some countries, it's still difficult. People go and come back. We are trying to make the process to be seamless and easy for our citizens all over the world.
Okay, amazing. I love to hear that, because I think quite a number of persons around me have had to come back and go to Abuja for their names, but I'm happy that there are actually opportunities for them to do this without having to come back to Nigeria to get NIN and renew their passport. But what's the level of awareness around this? Because I'm not sure what the procedures are and how the information has been amplified over time.
Yes, well, you see the awareness in 21st century, you understand, is in fact, one does not need to listen to until you listen to radio or watch TV or things like that. Awareness is whenever that you have an issue, just Google. And what we make sure to do is that in the NIMC's website, we we have answers to all the foreseeable questions that someone will have about their identity. In fact, when the Bureau of Public Service Reform did the evaluation of all government websites, so NIMSI became the first. That was in 2020 and 2021. In 2022, last year, we became second. And why? Because we are hosting our site outside Nigeria. They want us to host it locally. But our feeling is that any information that is for the general public worldwide, it should be where it cannot come down. So that is why we put it outside. But all the information that you want to capture, which enrollment center that is nearest to my location. So it will just give you, what do I need to present to get the enrollment? It will present to you. And also we use a lot of social media to present information. As you know, also there are also fraudsters, so many websites that are not genuine, that are coming up to really woo people and get their personal information. So we are consistently informing people, also collaborating with the security agencies to remove those websites off the track, but to be sure that all the information are there. And we have been working with even the embassies, like the embassy in London. We work directly that they themselves have a center that they are managing by themselves because of the influx of people in that center.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that clarity. I'll come back to you with the question of fraud very soon. I think you mentioned that in passing, but let me get to Elizabeth. So let's talk about Africans in exportation, direct export from Africa to the US. How easy is this, or how are you facilitating that to improve on what's already on ground?
We have an entire trade team that's working in facilitating that. So we have a virtual deal room where we can put companies from Africa on our virtual deal room to attract investors and investment. We're also working closely between African suppliers and US buyers. So we have a buyer-supplier group that focuses on that. We're working very closely with our African colleagues to find out what is actually needed to increase that trade between Africa and the US. So I'd be open, I'd love to hear from some of our colleagues on the line in terms of if they have specific questions or ideas about businesses that they want to get going or trade that they would like to see happening. I think that's where we learn the most is with some of the questions that were asked in terms of how we can promote these companies. So I'm eager to hear from the group. Thank you.
Amazing. Yes, and I'm sure we're going to have a handful of questions as soon as we get to that stage. I was just particularly interested in that question because, yes, I know that there are African products, whether in the raw states or in the finished form, that are in high demand in the US markets, but requires a lot of facilitation. Just as you mentioned, the process can be very overwhelming and exhausting so I wanted to hear exactly how you are making that possible for those who are looking in that direction. So let's get to Aziz. Before we open the floor to guests and participants to throw in their questions. So Engineer Aziz, I have just one last question for you, and that's around fraud. After security, fraud happens to be one of the challenges that border on our identity as well. So let's hear from you. How are you looking to improve the wide-scale issue of fraud within and out of the country that border on Nigerian identities?
Okay, well, thank you very much. You know, fraud comes in with different patterns and ways, but the major one that I've been talking about is that fraudsters that will come up with a website that is not genuine, because our own website is a government website, so it has a .gov.ng, but they can come up with anything and then ask people that they can now provide service to them. Usually not really capturing services, but to do with verifications, and they will claim that they can do verification for people, or sometimes even to enroll the people. But unfortunately, most of the time they may not be able to do that, or they give the person a fake ID, or give them a fake transaction slip, and thinking that that is genuine, until when the people come to us, and then we will check and then tell them that no, there is no any record. Please go to only registered licensed partners whose addresses and their names are on the NIMSI website. Also go to NIMSI offices. Again, we have all the offices are on our website, and that's the way to, first of all, the contact, where you contact the people. But there are also a majority of people that are gullible, or they want shortcuts, or when they go to a place that there is a little queue and they want to cut shortcut. But with more than 15,000 centers, so you have options in Nigeria, you have options. As I said, it is in the diaspora that we don't have many centers, but usually in the embassies, either the embassy or one or two places, you really get in most of the major towns that there are enrollment centers. And we have been encouraging those service providers to extend to all the other centers to just remove those fraudulent aspects. And actually in diaspora is that the citizen pays for this service, but only inside Nigeria that the enrollment is free, and it is NIMSI that pays. And I can see from the chat, George is asking when is NIMSI going to pay the partners, because it's about 2 years. Yes, this is the 20th month that we have not paid. The last time we paid was up to December 2021. And it's all have to do with this partnership with the World Bank and the development partners, which they themselves insisted that the data protection have to be in place before they commence paying those centers. But government have started this. Government recognizes that this is already work done, and it has to be paid for. The last administration also approved it, but there are funding constraints. Even this, before we commence this exercise, the new chairman in the House of Representatives just called me to give me a feedback, that because I told him that this is one of the challenges we had, and he has already went to the Ministry of Finance to follow up, and he has given me positive feedback just about an hour before we commence this process. So everybody is aware, because work that has been done and that can be audited, that because it's the unique people and we have agreed, therefore government is not shying away from that, it will pay. And for me to ask citizens to always be aware, because you can never eliminate fraudulent people, but it is rather that one should ask other people that have a role, have also searched the internet to find proper information from NIMSI's website and other partners, then like immigration, road safety, and others. All of them are our own partners who are also supposed to enroll and send it, because we are supposed to work as an ecosystem partner, so that it can be sustainable system. So we take cybersecurity seriously. We have young people that are working on this thing. They work day and night to make sure that they fortify the system that we have. But as you know, security is not an absolute thing. It changes almost every day. And the last time that Kenya was attacked and we got a warning message to Nigeria that we are next, so we had to also take it very seriously and continue to make sure that citizens get enrollment, and also that they should be able to verify their data wherever they are looking for a service, so that we will be working 24/7 as promised.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's amazing. So to our listeners, if you are with us, please give us a reaction. Let's be sure you can hear us and you're following our conversation. Please give us a reaction. And then I also would indulge everyone, if you have a question, kindly prepare it. At the top of the hour, we'll begin to take questions very shortly. And if you do not want to speak, you want to drop your question, please, the chat box is open. Just to go ahead and drop your questions and I'll take them at the right time. Thank you very much. So coming back to you, Elizabeth, what are the trends you see in the African market, really, based on your exposure and your experience so far? What are the key trends that you find interesting?
As Engineer Aziz has just mentioned, I think cybersecurity is a big trend we're seeing. And I love the fact that the African Chamber of Digital Commerce is reaching out to the diaspora. I think you're involved with a blockchain company that I'd be interested in hearing more about as well. That could be a new solution that the continent could be looking for. We're hearing a lot of the diaspora in the US that's wanting to go back to the continent and train people in cybersecurity, just basic cybersecurity hygiene, as they call it, and how to tackle some of these things. Because I think, you know, the US is also still learning. You know, once you have all of your government services online, you are all automatically vulnerable to these type of cyber attacks and things that need solutions. And I think we're seeing a lot of innovative, creative solutions coming out of Africa. I think this is one of the areas where the diaspora is particularly strong and can help train people on the continent. And, you know, we're also seeing, as I think I told you, a lot of very creative renewable energy innovations coming from Africa that could be used in the US. So that's what we're tending to see a lot in Africa that's coming this direction. We love seeing, as I said, with the example of hotspots, some of these solar powered mobile tower systems where, you know, we're all struggling with how do we use less power for data centers. That's coming from Africa. We're seeing an incredible number of really creative solutions coming from Africa to the US. So I think my interest is seeing where things are coming from. There are trends in both directions. And I love seeing kind of the mixture of where are the new innovations on the renewable energy side coming? Africa, I think, in a large part. Cybersecurity, I see maybe in the other direction for now, but we also look for innovation coming from the continent in that area. So it's exciting to see where these new trends are going. Thank you.
Beautiful, amazing. I'm so excited hearing that. Yes, and of course, in relation to security and fraud management, from where I stand, based on my exposure into the blockchain ecosystem, which I've been for over 5 years now, there are lots of solutions, even though it's taking a little time to penetrate the African market. But there are lots of very exciting and very large prospects in terms of what is possible in managing fraud, managing identity, managing security, and all of those areas that border on the progress of Africa. So just one last question for you, Elizabeth. What are the challenges of really managing direct investment into Africa and out of Africa? What's been the challenge? Are there challenging aspects to it?
I think one of the biggest challenges we're seeing is educating some of the funds, like the private equity side from the US, educating them about Africa. So they know that these are secure environments, that their investments are well placed in Africa. Just giving them more information and exposure to the African market, I think is a challenge for the US investment world in general. So we're trying to bring delegations over to the African continent. We're trying to educate our investors more from this side. We have an entire group within Prosper Africa focused on just that, on the investment going into Africa. So that's probably one of our biggest challenges. We're working on that every day. If people have conferences or different ideas how we might build on that momentum, I'm happy and open to hear what those ideas are. Thank you.
Amazing. So I didn't quite expect that response, but I'm happy I asked, really. So that's why we actually here at the African Chamber of Digital Commerce, because we understand how drawn back because of the kind of information you find out there, sometimes not very encouraging, but we are in the business of awareness and linking opportunities. So we consider it a very important role for us to play, to continue to straighten all of the information, to provide the facts and kind of reduce the misinformation out there about investments in Africa and the opportunities in Africa. And we've actually had some good response. We also create opportunities for dialogue, just like this one, the virtual one. And we also have our program coming up in the UAE, the Ideation Summit, coming in line with the World Investment Summit, which we are looking to use as an avenue to not just converse, but to also put the right information out there and put the opportunities in the right in the front of investors, and put the founders and funders in the same room to have really important conversations. So we are happy to be a part of the journey. We are doing our own bit, and we'll continue to do that. Okay,
that's nice.
So just one last question for you, Engineer Aziz, before we open the floor to our participants. So my last question is this: what I think you've really you've done a lot in terms of capturing identity for adults, right? But I still do know that, especially in the rural areas, there's little or no existence of data capture for children that are born. And I do not know how, of course, I know it's important to you, but I do not know the modalities that are getting put in place to make sure that we are not just capturing the adults, but because that's the only way we can solve the perennial issues of identity management and all. How far are you driving to ensure that, including the rural areas, not just the cities, that we are able to capture identities of children at the point of birth and within under 5 and all of those minor ages?
Yeah, very, 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 very important question, and it is the foundation. So just like we said, the NIN is the foundation of all the other identities. Birth registration is the foundation of the NIN itself. And as we were speaking, my colleague came to brief me because they just finished meeting with the Nigerian National Population Commission and then UNICEF. So because right now UNICEF is capturing babies, children, and then they needed to capture the mothers so that they can connect them with that. And that is what we have been working to get together to make sure that the children, all the children are captured. As I told you, I had to go out of my way to go and find out that how many children do we have in school, not to talk of the ones that are with their mothers. The ones in school, as I told you, 48 million. The ones that are out of school on the streets, about 18 million. So all these, and once that these our front-end partners have been capturing the adults, because you know identity is only once. So once someone gets it, you don't need to get a double ration. The system also will not allow you to do that. So the focus of even those our front-end partners will go back to the children to capture them. And with my internet is unstable, so let me remove the
okay, that's fine.
The video to remove the video. So
Sure,
so
go ahead.
So with the work as I've been emphasizing that it is an ecosystem, that all the government agencies have to work together. So as you can see, we are working with the National Population Commission to make sure that all the vital registrations have been done, and also registration of birth is done at birth, not later on. And the NIN also is issued at that birth. But you know, whenever you start a system, then you have to satisfy the mainstream people. Otherwise, they will be making a lot of noise. So that is why we strategically captured you people, the mainstream people, so that you don't say you don't have. Then we'll go back and capture those things. So that I believe, with the energy that we have now, and also the government that is on ground, that emphasizes on the data, that we need data. We can't, in 21st century, we cannot plan, we can't do anything without data. Therefore, all hands are on deck to make sure that this is done. Of course, like Elizabeth mentioned, that there are challenges of educating people. And we believe that even in the cybersecurity, if you educate our people, especially our youths, and they will become experts in those areas, and they will be the ones that will be exporting to go and man those cloud computing centers, because as you know, Nigerians, they are already wire people. They already understand all these things. So once that they understand the basic, the hygiene of cybersecurity, they will be able to man and everywhere, and you will have experts from Africa that will be taken to the other side, as she said. And also the energy too, because even for me too, at my enrollment centers and also at the back end, energy is one of the major issues. And then the next one, connectivity. Now with the satellite connectivity, we believe that and broadband, we should be able to resolve those issues, and we will become the experts. Like, you know, even right now too, Nigerians that are Cisco certified, they do wonders all over the world. So we are open. We like this connection with the with especially the US government, the trade investment. And also, as you know, there is the technology, there is process, but the people are the most important aspect. And once you have those people, be sure that your technology and your processes will be taken care of. Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
Thank you so much for that response. I think we've come to the end of the first session. We're going right into entertaining questions from those who have questions, and we have a number of them already popping up. We have thank you for your great response, Mr. Dichi, as regards payments. Okay, I think you've taken that one. This one is about how do you envision Prosper Africa collaborating with African governments, regulatory bodies, and private sector partners to create an enabling environment that fosters technological advancement and entrepreneurship on the continent? So yes, that's for you, Elizabeth.
Yes, I saw that, and I was going to jump in there and answer Kelvin's question. Thank you for that question,
Great.
Kelvin. Yes, we are working very closely on understanding what the discussions are around the digital protocol under ACOFDC. This is, we think, we're hearing from our African colleagues, this is potentially a very good initiative. It's interesting, a lot of our partners on the African Tech for Trade initiative are talking about various things they're hearing from their African partners on the ground. So for instance, in the fintech area, are there going to be things brought up under the digital protocol discussion that enable cross-border payments? Are there fintech solutions going to be either inspired to grow and go throughout the African continent, or is the enabling environment going to be stunted because the African country-specific legislation is prohibiting that. So we're following that very closely. We would welcome input. I think what we're doing now is we're having discussions with some of these ICT companies to see what they're hearing from their African partners. And then we're trying to decide how is that information delivered to the Secretariat. I know we're working with the US Chamber within the E-Trade Alliance, and we're delivering some of the perspectives we're hearing from our African colleagues in that direction. But we're open to understanding maybe other ways that we can deliver some of these messages back to the African governments. And we welcome any kind of input as well as to where you all think that discussion is going. I think that is a big part of where we see fintech innovation specifically going, is how open and where do these digital protocol discussions, where are they leading? We understand that the time frame is now early next year for the completion of that digital protocol within the AFCFTA. And we'd love to hear from companies, both diaspora and on the continent, as to what they feel are their biggest obstacles to trade. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I will be going to the live audience. I think, Sebastian, you have your hand up. Please feel free to unmute yourself so you can ask your question. Hello, Sebastian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hello, Mona Lisa.
Hi, welcome. Please feel free, you have the floor.
All right, my question is directed to Mr. Aliyu Abdulaziz. He actually spoke a lot about how the institution is doing its best towards capturing data of Nigerians all around the world, Nigeria and in the diaspora. So I want to ask, what is the agency basically doing in regards to making sure Nigerians get the permanent cards, basically, because at the moment, we all move with the temporal one. So I just want to know the work in place to aid Nigerians get their permanent cards. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Engineer,
All
please,
right.
that's for
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much for the question. Way back, as I said earlier, that before 2015, we were focusing on ID card and giving people the plastic ID card. But somehow the recession came in and we stepped back. And when we step back and analyze, and specifically we have checked US, and then we see that, it is social security number that is given, not social security card. So we started questioning. Then we came down to UK. Then we saw that there's also no ID card. It is insurance number that is given. In fact, with the surname and the postcode, and also the date of birth of the person in the UK, you should be able to identify the person 95%. So when you put the NIN, then it's 100%. So we saw that, and we studied in the US too. We found out that 3 numbers that made the development there: the ZIP, which is the Zonal Improvement Planning code, then the telephone code, and the social security number. So, and we checked India, which is developing like us. We saw that they have done at heart without giving any card. So we came back and checked that, okay, we need to name all our streets. We need to also number all our houses. Then we need to have a digital code for that, and also enroll the people and give them a national identification number, not card. So by doing that, in 2016, we doubled the 7 million that we met to 14 million. By 2017, we doubled the 14 to 28 million. Then we saw astronomical growth. And that is what we did to able to achieve this. And we know that in 21st century, you don't need a physical card. All you need is the number, just like telephone number. If I ask you for your phone number, you just call the digits for me, and then I called you up. The same thing with that for identifying you. And also the mobile app make it simple that you can have the identity card that you want on the mobile app. So to us, we just partnered with the banks through the interbank settlement system to provide the card that a identity card, a payment card that is layered with identity. So at no cost to NIMSI, but only cost to the bank. So that is what we did. So with your bank, you should be able to, I believe that they are testing the system now. So in the next 2-3 months, you should be able to get a card if you need a physical one through the bank. But actually, in this 21st century, you don't really need the card, but the mobile app. Again, there was an issue for Nigerians in diaspora to even use the mobile app, because earlier on because you have to do 2-factor authentication to send the SMS cost, and the SMS, we cannot charge the SMS cost outside Nigeria. And recently, we just found out that we can do that using the WhatsApp. So that is another alternative to do that. So my people are working on it to make that alternative so that you can download the mobile app from outside Nigeria and continue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think we have one more question from Lara. Madam Lara, I've been looking out for you. Please unmute your mic. You have the floor. Your hand has been up for quite some time. Please go ahead and ask your question, Madam Lara.
Thank you so much. And thank you to Mr. Kaigama for this great opportunities for this platform. And both speakers are great. Some of the questions have been answered, but particular one that I want to ask is regarding the cybersecurity. Yes, I just came back from a trade mission with U.S. Trade Department, and a lot of the people in the delegates were in ICT and cybersecurity, and we recognize this to be a problem. My question to you, sir, engineer, is knowing the strength of Nigerians in terms of intellect, because that's really where we are. I don't want to call Nigerians as fraudulent. We are very intelligent. We figure things out. We're very curious. And it's time to start turning things around for the positive. So knowing the extent of Nigerians' intellect, what level of framework are you using in order to continue to strengthen the security system that you have? Because we're collecting data. Data is great, and data is money. You mentioned that you're not storing this, whatever your system is in Nigeria, you're storing it outside of Nigeria. It's not necessarily safer. So I want to know, is there any cybersecurity maturity model that you're using to be ahead of this cyber threats?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Madam Clara. So let me clarify. First of all, I mentioned is what I said is outside is the website. So it's our website that I said whatever is for the public consumption. So it should be where you will not have a problem of power or connectivity, so that it should be available all the time. But all our databases are in country. In fact, we don't allow anything to connected to identity. Not that because it is not safe, that the cloud computing is really safe. You can put your money, you can put your health records, you can even put identity. But we work with the wider government policy, and the wider government policy is that you should not put identity data on the cloud, and we have not been doing that. So the framework to me personally, at my own personal level, is that is education. Anything, even cybersecurity or whatever it is the education. Once that you understand cryptography, once that you understand what cryptography does, once you understand what the other people also do on the other side, you will be comfortable. You will have that, as you said, Nigerians have intellect, and also we are also confident people. So the remaining aspect is that capacity, or that is competence in the cybersecurity itself. And as Elizabeth says, once you understand the hygiene, most things are in fact done by just by just luring people into either clicking a link or things like that. So, and when you have organized criminals, then you also have to have an organized team to also address that system. As I said, we have young people that are certified cybersecurity that are working with us. But the experience is that most of the men, they have been mostly leaving the country because they will get a job outside the country that pays them. So the strategy that I have done, maybe I may appear something, but I've been getting married women because they don't usually, they are not as mobile as the young guys. So they married women that we train them, and then they become experts, and most of them have not been living. But yet there's a time that the husband has to travel, like you, to somewhere else. So the lady have to follow the
That's
husband.
okay. I appreciate that, because I want to take
thank
one
you.
more minute to ask another question with Elizabeth. I see that we're running out of time.
Okay.
But great point. Women in tech, we're promoting that. So great point.
Yes.
Mona Lisa, can I please ask one question? Okay.
Yes. I was going to give you that opportunity. Please go ahead.
Okay. So Elizabeth, thank you also for joining this platform. We appreciate you, and we are aware of the work that Prosper Africa is doing. However, there's a lot of complaints. I mean, maybe not a lot, but there's some complaint that, Prosper Africa is not walking the talk. You guys say you're ready to support Africa, you're ready to do XYZ, but I don't know what else that needs to be done. For example, in Nigeria, about 60% of the businesses, the startups, they are informal. They don't use website. These are people on cell phone. They are WhatsApp people. And when we bring those deals to the table, we just been getting rejection. We're doing all the due diligence that we can, but it's not getting funded. Case in point, when you're talking about what is trending in Africa right now, it's creatives. People doing hairstyle, black hair, makeup, and fashion, entertainment. Burna Boy just sold out Madison Square Garden, and Wizkid and Davido, all of those people. These are the things that are trending in Nigeria, for example, not just Africa, in Nigeria. I'm speaking to Nigeria. And also automotive. Automotive is also trending, but we are challenged by this lack of electricity. So when you're talking about electric cars, it's going to take a long time, because that's one of the ways to handle this renewable energy and climate change issue. So we would love to talk to you guys more. I mean, because the platform dedicated to just this session, but we'd love to engage you more. There are many things that we could share with you so that we can collaborate, because that's what it's going to take, collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Laura. I'm so happy to hear from you. And, we want to hear criticism as well as compliments. So I please encourage you. I don't know if I can put my email in the chat, but I'd love to hear from you. Yes, we are focused on the creative industry too. I probably should have mentioned that as well. We have a whole team that's focused on the creative industry. I don't know if you have plans, but to attend FAME in South Africa. It's an upcoming trade show focused on the creative sector. We will have representation at that event. That is in South Africa at the beginning of September. Happy to send you more information about that. I think they have representation from all over the globe coming to that. So I think Disney, Hulu, Netflix, all of the top sides on the film side will be there, but the creative industry in general is going to be presented there. And then on the automotive side, it's interesting you say that. I just got an interesting email last week kind of focused on the electric vehicle industry and how we can connect the electric vehicle industry to private sector equity firms, that type of thing. So yeah, I'd be very interested in hearing what you think about that as well. We're trying to connect the two worlds because, as I mentioned, I think climate change and renewable energy solutions are getting a lot of attention right now. There are a lot of private equity firms focused on climate as kind of a lens to their funding. So I'd be very interested in hearing more from you about some of the opportunities you're seeing in that sector and maybe see if we can connect them up with the funding groups that are also focused on that.
Yes, especially the automobile. They're looking for technical assistance, financial assistance, through capacity building. But Eric is a friend of mine. I'll get your details from him.
Okay, perfect. I look forward to being in touch with you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for that clarity. I think we've been able to delve into some direct and indirect areas of this conversation. And I'm happy because what we want to achieve with this outing is to create exactly that enabling environments for people to share their thoughts and get guidance and also be able to leverage the opportunities that are already out there, but may not be exactly in the faces of people every day. So I think we have one more question. iPhone user, I don't know that identity, but please feel free to unmute yourself and speak. I don't know. Is that you, Solomon? Can you hear me? Your hand was up initially. Do you have a question? Just one more question. We are running out of time. We are less than 9 minutes to the end of this session. Okay, I think that's about it. We do
Mona Lisa, I have one question if you don't.
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is Eric Kagamo. Just quickly, my question is on the DTA. If you could just give us a little bit on what a DTA is and also what we should expect, as I believe there's indication there's kind of a semi or full activation of the DTA, which is a detailed initiative, with Africa. So if you could just, educate us a little bit on the DTA. I know it's one of those initiatives under the Biden-Harris, administration, and which they're pretty proud of, and I think they're working tirelessly to make sure it comes to full fruition. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question, Eric. So so DTA stands for Digital Transformation with Africa. And under the DTA, there are 3 pillars, as government likes to define those things. The first pillar is related to connectivity and infrastructure projects. That's mostly led by the U.S. Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade and Development Agency. So that is pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is devoted to capacity building and training. That's a lot of what I heard here as well. That is under the direction of the U.S. Agency for International Development. And then pillar number 3 is on regulatory reform and potential obstacles to trade there. And that is led by the State Department, the U.S. State Department. So I think that there's a lot of overlap, I think, between the 3 pillars, but we're all trying to work more closely with that, under that initiative. I would say that the Africa Tech for Trade initiative is firmly under pillar 1. So we're looking at defining projects with African partners. And we're looking at a PPP structure, public-private partnership. I'd love to hear from more of you if you have ideas of projects. But yeah, I think it's going to create some possibilities and opportunities. We're all kind of moving together with the other U.S. government agencies. But like I said, our Africa Tech for Trade with Prosper Africa is under Pillar 1, and we're looking for projects to fund and opportunities to partner with African companies. So I hope that answers some of your questions, Eric. Happy to answer anything else you have in mind.
Absolutely, you did excellently, bro. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We are just almost at the end of this session. Okay. No. Okay, please go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead. Okay, I think you have some background audio issues and we are unable to hear you clearly. So if it's a problem with your network, you might just want to drop the message and I'll take the question because your audio is not so clear from that end.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's improved. You can go ahead. Let's see.
Okay. We talk about picking the tech guys in Nigeria, selecting people. We have a lot of persons who are very good in tech, and the issue of selection, we've not been able to get it right for you to get the actual guys. A lot of youth around that actually grew in this tech business, in software development and cybersecurity, or how?
Oh, I think we lost you there for a while. You might want to drop that question. So I would help you take it that I want to assume you're having a network breakdown. We still have just about 5 minutes to go. You can drop your question and we will take care of that. We have another question while we are waiting for that one. Does the US Prosper Africa have specific areas of interest to work with on African tech trade initiatives? Yes, I was going to ask that question myself, but here we are. So what are your theses? Are there particular areas you're looking at or is it generic across all industries? I hear you talk about the creative industry, fashion, all the way to tech. Are there specific areas or you have the capacity to spread across board?
Okay, well, thank you so much for that question, Solomon. And thank you as well, Mona Lisa. Yes, so Africa Tech for Trade, we're looking at tech solutions that are going to help on the ground to solve issues or obstacles to trade on the ground. So for instance, cargo and kind of logistics questions, fintech solutions that solve cross-border payments. We have a project in Eswatini right now with a farm app. So connecting rural farmers with grocery stores directly to avoid the middleman and make sure that the food arrives at the grocery store where the buyer is located and the supply reaches the buyer. So we're looking at all types of creative, I would say renewable energy type solutions that help with tech-enabled solutions, fintech, logistics, anything where you're seeing that a tech solution can be used in an innovative catalytic solution that can attract follow-on investment and can be replicated in other countries on the continent. That's what I would say we're looking for. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Yeah, so sure, it does from my end. And that would be a final question for today. I'm not sure our other listener is able to throw in that question, but we will be rounding off at this point. We've had a good time listening to you, Elizabeth, and of course, Engineer Aziz, getting to learn about your projects and the opportunities that you have for our listeners. And it's been really a wonderful time. We appreciate your time and your presence at the chamber. So from this point, we will be calling it a day. We appreciate everyone, the listeners, the people who ask questions, questions. Thank you for participating in our program. Please feel free to follow our channels. You'd find us on Twitter, of course. You find us on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. We are almost on all the platforms. Please follow us and engage with our conversations. What we do is to facilitate opportunities into the African continent for the global space, and just basically creating a better future for Africa. So it's been an honor hosting this session and getting to learn from amiable personalities like the both of you. We continue to create opportunities for conversations and learning and mutual growth for everyone. So thank you so much. I think we have our audience thanking in the chat box. We really appreciate your time and everything. We really do appreciate. Yes. Eric, I don't know if you have a final word before we step out. Hello, Eric, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mona Lisa. I just want to keep it brief. I want to thank, Engineer Aliou Aziz. You've been a friend of the chamber, and you've been an outstanding leader. And we thank you for your time and just your support and everything. And we continue in the same spirit. We'll continue to forge that relationship, strengthen that relationship, and thank you for blessing us with your presence, and equally Elizabeth as well, as you embark on this journey. And we hope we're going to be great allies to you to make sure you both Prosper Africa and the US and US as a whole through its initiatives able to accomplish its goal. And thank you for making time and making this quite an experience. And Mona Lisa, thank you for being for just being exceptional. You make it super interesting and entertaining as well. So thank you for to the virtual audience as well, and for those that are streaming, via YouTube. Thank you, and we're looking forward to having you here some other day. Thank you, and to you, Mona Lisa.
Thank you, everyone. We'll call it a day, and do enjoy the rest of your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.